My name is Sorin Grama, and I started a company called Promethean Power Systems. Our journey has been very long. We started a company back in 2007, and I wanted to show you today just how long we've come, the challenges that we faced along the way, and some great news that has just recently come out. So I'll end with that. My friend here will help me paste through the slides. So our journey started in 2007. It was actually on a trip to India. Myself and my co-founder came to India. We're looking for a market opportunity for a product that a few students at MIT had developed. It was some kind of a solar contraption that was used to provide hot water and electricity for clinics and schools and things like that. So we came to look for a market for that product. And this is kind of a classic case of a technology developed in the lab, in this case at MIT. I was looking for a market. And so we traveled all over India. We went through south, north. We actually came to Hubli. The Deshpande Foundation hosted us. They showed us some various opportunities here. And as it turned out, nobody really wanted that technology. And this is, perhaps some of you may have noticed this kind of case where technology looking for a market is not always a great way to start a company. So in that trip though, it was in Bangalore actually on a Saturday morning. We had nothing to do. And my co-founder picked up the phone and cold called the managing director of Bangalore Dairy. Now, Bangalore Dairy is one of the largest dairies in India. It's top 5, so it collects a ton of. Just called the managing director and said, "Can we come talk to you? We just have this technology." And I think they were kind of curious. Who the hell are these yahoos from US? What do they want? So we had a meeting with him and 14 of his engineers. And in that meeting, we found out about the issues of milk collection in India. Now, all of you know how important milk is for India, right? It is part of the culture, is the lifeblood of India. It's used in every single in every single culinary device, whatever it is. It is so important, but it is a very unique way of collecting this milk. The milk doesn't come from large farms. There are no large farm holdings here in India. It all comes from small individual farmers. Millions and millions of these farmers scattered all over the countryside. So how do you collect that milk? How do you keep it fresh? How do you bring it and process it? It's a very difficult challenge, and this is what the Bangalore dairy people told us. They're having a very difficult time collecting enough milk, keeping the milk fresh, because it takes sometimes 3 to 4 hours for that milk to travel from a village to a collection center. And as a result, the transportation cost is very high. Twice a day, armies of trucks go to villages to collect small amounts of milk and bring them back to the factories. That's the situation in India, and it's a very unique situation. It's because the way the country is spread out and the way the milk is produced from all these individual farmers. So, with that in mind, we looked at what current solutions were. It is an easy way to address this problem, and that's chilling the milk at the village level. But how do you chill the milk at the village level? Well, you have power in those villages, right? So you often have to put a diesel generator for that. So that was the only viable solution that was presented to the dairies. So they asked us, can you help us do something better? So we went back to US and we thought about some solutions. First, we looked up the dairy industry, like, is this worth our time? Can we do something with this? Well, yes, the Indian dairy industry is the largest industry in the world. India is the largest producer and consumer of milk in the world. It's a $14 billion industry. It was worth our time. So I had just graduated from MIT. My co-founder left his well-paying job, and we decided we're going to do this. But we didn't have any technology. So we did some studies just to make sure this was viable and there's enough market out there. So just to give you a sense, these kinds of chillers are placed at collection centers. So the target market is those village collection centers, and approximately 300,000 of them throughout India. So it seemed like a viable, quite a good opportunity, business opportunity. Another thing that early on, before we decided to develop the technology, was who's going to buy these things, right? Now, individual farmers don't necessarily have money to buy technology like this. Well, the buyers for this and the people that actually came to us to tell us about the opportunity are the dairies. The dairies themselves, like Amul, Mother Dairy, Karnataka Milk Federation, these are big companies. Some of them are billion-dollar corporations. They have the huge buying power. They are the ones that will buy these units, put them at the village collection centers, and let the farmers use them. It benefits the dairies directly and the farmers indirectly. But we saw immediately a way for this to grow into a viable business. There's a willing buyer, has the money to pay for it, it doesn't have a good solution. So early on, we decided on this business model, and it's a very key part of our offering because this business model, we haven't changed in 5 years. This is the business model, and this was allowed us to form a for-profit company because we saw an opportunity to make a real business out of it. We don't have to go for the small consumer product. So now onto the technology, because that took the rest of the journey. So we figured out the market, we figured out the business model very early on. Now how do we develop the technology? What we had done with the students at MIT did not work, so we had to drop that technology completely, and we started from scratch. So now it's beginning of 2008, so we began with some proof of concept prototypes. This is something in my house. We just built a small scale. Can we cool 5 liters of milk? Let's see how that works. You know, that's how these things start. Very small scale, just couple up together some technology from various parts. Next, we actually got some money from a funder, and we developed a larger prototype. And we wanted to use solar power because that was something that we were familiar with. So we kept on that idea, iterating on solar idea. Let's use it with solar power. Solar is a good product, especially for India. So we developed a prototype like this in the lab. Well, what is that good to do in the lab? You have to take it out into the field. So the next iteration of that, we came to Goa in 2010, and we started testing that technology. So we'll have a slide of that. So again, another step is how you get it out into the field, put it out there, see what people say. Do they like it? What are the problems that we're facing with? So we spent 3 months in Goa testing this milk chiller, and the feedback was, it's okay, but it's got these problems in it. 8 out of 10 dairies that looked at it didn't really like it. Okay, so go back to the drawing board. Let's see what we can do. How can we change that? So we come up with the next iteration. A year later, we come back with a bigger, faster, better model. There's one dairy that was really interested in a solar-powered milk chiller, and we installed it somewhere in South India. And the day after we installed it, they come looked at it. It's too big, it's too expensive. Back to the drawing board. This is how it went, twists and turns, and this is a normal thing for startups. So if you're facing that issue in your own startup, in your own entrepreneurial venture, it's normal to go back and forth until you hit the sweet spot. So, you know, we didn't realize it at the time, but we were searching for something we couldn't quite find. How is solar power reliable? Solar power is not as reliable because solar power shines during the day. That's not so often in the monsoon. So that itself was not the solution which we were trying to use, which we were trying to apply. The solution came the thermal battery that we had developed in the process of doing all this. So as you know, many of you may perhaps use solar power. Solar requires some form of storage, energy storage. Because you don't have solar power available all the time, you need to store that energy somehow and make it available when the sun is not shining. Well, likewise, we developed a battery, but it's a thermal battery. It's not an electrical battery. It's a battery designed for refrigeration. So it stores thermal energy. And that became the key technology that we developed. We developed it actually without realizing that was the key technology for us. But once we took the solar out of the picture, then the batteries became the focus. And that turned out to be the key breakthrough for us, the technology. So with that, we developed a complete solution which looks something like this. So this is a complete refrigeration system. It costs somewhere like 4.5 lakhs. So it's a fairly expensive system. It's a lot of steel, a lot of metal, a lot of phase change materials, chiller unit, the refrigeration unit there. Here's the battery in the background. This is a chiller that cools the milk instantly and protects the quality. And this is a silo that stores the milk. So we installed 4 of these very quickly for 4 different customers earlier this year. And then we iterated again to make it simpler and smaller and cheaper. And that's the next version of it, which is now going into production. So what I'd like to say is that just 2 weeks ago, we got an order for 50 of these. Finally, after 5 years of trying this. So we're very excited. And you know, prior to that, my co-founder and I moved to Mumbai. We live in Mumbai. We have a partnership with an Indian company to develop these chillers, manufacture them. It's everything is manufactured in India, some foreign components, but overall, all the stainless steel, all the stuff is made here in India, and we schedule our first deliveries in April and May. One last thing I'll mention, what is the impact of this? What kept us going all these years? It's the kind of impact that we can make. The dairies are obviously get the direct impact because they reduce their cost, they reduce their transportation, they get better quality, but that benefits the consumer. Milk that is chilled immediately at the village lasts for 2 weeks on the shelf. It's much better quality. Maybe someday you won't have to boil the milk when you buy it from the store in India. That's the kind of thing that's going to affect the consumers. The farmers then benefit indirectly because the dairies and farmers have a very symbiotic relationship. Dairies cannot exist without the farmers. Farmers cannot sell milk if the dairies don't collect it. So farmers make very good money out of this milk. And a lot of times, dairies cannot reach the farmers out in the countryside because they're too far away, the distances are too far, and the milk will spoil. So in that case, if you put a refrigeration system out there, you can reach more farmers. So farmers get more money in many. And then, of course, we generate jobs in villages and support and the village attendants and so on. So that's it. And I think the last thing that our vision is we're going to have these all over India, 300,000 collection centers. We just got 50, plenty more to go. Thank you so much.